I'm Coop, this is my modified Nerf Elite Alpha Trooper. This is the Elite Alpha Trooper from my modification tutorial in my review. Annotations down here if you want to see the review or the mod tutorial. I cover all of the mods I did to this blaster. Anyways, I've taken out the air restrictor, the barrel post, and cleared out all of the locks so I can do a little bit more with the blaster and be less restricted. And I also added a ton of white lithium grease all over this blaster. I added grease to the access door, to the bolt sled, to the plunger tube, and pretty much everywhere there's a moving part, so it's super slippery and super smooth. I also increased the air seal between the barrel and the plunger tube, and other Elite guns such as the Retaliator and the Rampage, this is not such a problem, and I did mention that in my tutorial that it didn't need to be modified, but in this blaster I do believe it did because the air seal wasn't very good. So I added Teflon tape underneath that O-ring and increased that seal and then re-lubed it with silicone grease to make sure it was nice and tight for the air seal. So getting a better air seal out of that plus the air restrictor removal gives you a few extra feet of range. It's not a huge amount of air output increase, but it's definitely worth doing since it doesn't cost anything. Those are actually all of the modifications I've done, I believe. I'm very happy with it. It's very smooth because of the lube. I tried a new paint, so it's not as smooth as it should be, but it's still definitely smooth. I typically avoid painting internals for a very good reason. It feels sloppy and bad when you paint the internals, such as the access door and the trigger, but I lubricated these quite a bit, so it sort of countered it. Lubing it the same amount without paint would obviously be smoother because there's not paint there, and paint's not very good for friction. It increases friction and makes it feel yucky. So I usually don't paint the internals, but I changed it up because I didn't want too much orange next to the white. I don't think that looks very good. There is orange under there, and the stock release, and the magazine obviously. But those are for very good reasons because those usually jam up when painted. I've done those in the past and they just don't really end up well in the long run. Not really a modification, but I did add a Raider stock. This is still removable and that bit's a little black. And then it's still retractable. I haven't modified that, I just painted it. So again, I'm very happy with the Elite Alpha Trooper. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. But I'll go over the internal modifications of the Strife and then cover what this thing is. Pretty basic modifications to the Strife. I rewired it, took out the electronic and mechanical locks, re-lubricated it so it's super